You need to pay attention to what I'm about to tell you. Stop whatever you're doing. Put the phone down, turn the volume up, because the entire foundation of the National Football League, the very ground these billionaire owners stand on, just cracked. A secret, no, a confession was just dragged into the light, and it's exposed the kind of panic in the NFL's executive suites that you only see when a private bank account gets audited. We're talking about Cam Newton, who just casually walked onto national television and dropped a nuclear secret about Shedeur Sanders that is going to rewrite the player power dynamic in professional sports forever. 3 rejections and an earthquake. This isn't your daddy's NFL. This isn't the story of a grateful kid hugging Roger Goodell. This is the story of a rookie quarterback before he even signed a contract, turning down 3, not 1, not 2, 3 separate NFL franchises. He didn't just get drafted, he was the one doing the choosing. Let that sink in for a second. Shedeur Sanders rejected 3 NFL teams on draft night. The owners, they're furious, they're confused. They've lost control of the script. The question isn't whether Shedeur is good enough to play in the league. The question is, since when did the players get to tell the owners no? That is the bombshell that is rattling the walls of every luxury box in the country. And by the time I'm done, you'll understand why this single act of defiance is more revolutionary than any play you'll see on the field this year. The air in the hallowed halls of NFL ownership is thick with something other than expensive cigar smoke. It's the acrid smell of panic. Right now, in luxury boxes and on private jets across the country, billionaires are sweating harder than a coach in triple overtime. Their finely tailored suits feel a little too tight. Their single malt scotch tastes a little too bitter. And it's all because Cam Newton just casually walked onto national television and detonated a bombshell about Shedeur Sanders that nobody saw coming. Imagine a world where the kings, the puppet masters, the men who play real-life Monopoly with human beings, suddenly realize one of the pawns has become a player. One rookie quarterback, before even cashing his first NFL paycheck, has flipped their perfect time-honored script completely upside down, and you're about to find out how. For decades, the NFL draft has been the league's most sacred ceremony of control. It's a spectacle of manufactured emotion where powerful men in leather chairs decide the fates of young athletes who have spent their entire lives dreaming of this one moment. The script is simple and unchangeable. A young man's name is called. He cries. He hugs his mother. He puts on a hat with a team logo he may have despised yesterday, and he expresses nothing but pure, unadulterated gratitude. He is grateful for the opportunity. He is grateful to the organization. He is grateful for the chance to be owned. But this year, that script was set on fire. Somewhere between the champagne toasts and those hollow pre-written speeches about building for the future, Cam Newton pulled out the nastiest, most unexpected U-turn reverse card of the decade, and the game will never be the same. With the effortless cool of a man who has seen it all, Cam Newton let it slip that Shedeur Sanders, the kid who has been methodically torching defenses for over 10,000 yards like he's playing catch in the backyard, didn't just get drafted, he was the one doing the choosing. He actually rejected 3 NFL teams on draft night. Let that sink in. Not 1, not 2, 3. If confidence had its own Instagram account, that post would have been a selfie with the caption mood. And that right there is the precise moment the owners lost their collective minds. These are men who are used to pulling every string, controlling every variable, but Shedeur wasn't playing their game. He wasn't about to bow his head and play the grateful rookie for whatever scraps were thrown his way, even if it meant spending the next 3 years eating turf and fading into obscurity in a city he didn't choose. Nah. Sources say he sat through the draft process like he was speed dating billion-dollar franchises, swiping left on NFL teams with the same casual dismissal you'd use on a desperate Tinder profile. The audacity was breathtaking, the message was revolutionary, and the look on the faces of the league's puppet masters said it all. They didn't know whether to clap or collapse. This wasn't just gossip, it was a declaration of war on the established order. And Cam Newton wasn't about to let it fade into the background noise of sports talk radio. He brought the smoke with that trademark confidence, the kind of smooth, charismatic delivery where you're not sure if he just gave you a profound life lesson or a fashion tip for the runway. Cam laid it all out crystal clear. Shedeur Sanders had real options, and instead of letting his destiny get tossed around like a soggy stadium hot dog, he took the wheel. The NFL media machine, completely unprepared for such a brazen act of self-determination, went into overdrive. They twisted it, they spun it, they tried to paint him him as entitled, spoiled, and disrespectful. But here's the kicker. The truth was way juicier. Shedeur wasn't being reckless. He was being calculated. He was being strategic. And he was being dangerous in a way the league had never, ever seen before. Rewind the tape. All pre-draft analysis had Shedeur as a potential top 10 pick. The talent was undeniable. The pedigree was legendary. But as the draft approached, the math started getting fuzzy. Unless, of course, those numbers were being deliberately cooked by teams who were terrified of a rookie who actually possessed a spine and a sense of his own worth. And when 3 of those teams came knocking, they weren't just random franchises picking at the bottom of the barrel. These were powerhouse organizations, and Shedeur looked them dead in the eye and said, no. The Great Rejection. Why 3 powerhouses were turned away. The first franchise Shedur's camp decisively rejected was the Baltimore Ravens. On the surface, it looks like a dream scenario. A first-class organization, a stable front office, and the chance to learn behind a league MVP in Lamar Jackson. It's the kind of situation that football traditionalists drool over, but Shedeur and his camp saw it for what it was, a career graveyard. Imagine being handed a front row seat to watch another man's legendary career unfold, knowing your only job is to hold the clipboard and stay out of the way. Who in their right mind, with the ambition of a champion, would willingly sign up for that? The Ravens' offense isn't just an offense. It's the Lamar Jackson experience. It's built around his once-in-a-generation talent, his unique gravitational pull on defenses, his unparalleled ability to break a game wide open with his legs. Shedeur, a surgical pocket passer with elite accuracy and timing, would be a square peg in a round hole. For him to succeed, the Ravens would have to fundamentally change their entire offensive philosophy, something they would never do for a backup quarterback. The offer from Baltimore wasn't an opportunity. It was a gilded cage. It was a sentence to spend the prime years of his athletic life in Lamar's shadow, waiting for a chance that would likely never come. He looked at the Ravens' offer and essentially said, "No thanks. I'm not here to be Lamar's stunt double. I'm here to be the star of my own movie." This wasn't a slight against Lamar. It was a ruthless, cold-blooded assessment of a business proposition. The Ravens wanted an insurance policy. Shedeur wanted a starting rotation spot. The two ambitions were mutually exclusive. The rejection blindsided the Ravens brass. They pride themselves on being a destination franchise, and to be so openly and publicly dismissed by a college prospect was an insult they won't soon forget. Their internal memos, if they ever leaked, would reek of indignation. Then came the Philadelphia Eagles, another titan of the NFC, swaggering around like they're running some kind of quarterback utopia, fresh off a Super Bowl appearance. They had just handed their franchise quarterback Jalen Hurts a mega contract so massive he could probably buy his own island and rename it Hurts Nation. The starting spot in Philly wasn't just taken, it was locked down tighter than Fort Knox for the foreseeable future. Shedeur saw the script from a mile away: draft him, praise his potential, stick him on the bench, and let his talent atrophy in the shadows until the fans couldn't even remember his name. Philly probably thought they were doing him a favor, blessing him with that iconic midnight green jersey and a chance to be part of their culture. But Shedeur wasn't looking for a participation trophy. He saw that respecting Jalen Hurts didn't mean he had to sacrifice his own career at the altar of someone else's success. He didn't need a crash course in invisibility. The Eagles likely envisioned Shedeur beaming with pride while holding a clipboard as if it were a championship trophy. Instead, he treated their offer like a piece of junk mail. It wasn't just a rejection, it was a statement that his ambition was not for sale. The message to the Eagles was brutal in its simplicity. You have your guy. I am not a luxury item for your storage shelf. I am a franchise cornerstone, and I will only go where I can be one now. The Eagles organization, notoriously confident, took this as a direct affront. Their ownership sees their team as one of the elite few, and to be told, "Your situation is beneath me," by a rookie was a level of disrespect they were not programmed to handle. They saw him as an arrogant kid. He saw them as a closed-off corporation. This is where the internet lost its collective mind. Was Shedeur being cocky, or was he playing 4D chess while the rest of the league was playing checkers? The old-school voices, the gatekeepers of football tradition, attention immediately wagged their fingers. They screamed about entitlement, about a lack of respect for the process, about how rookies are supposed to pay their dues. But then Cam Newton, a man who knows a thing or two about being a revolutionary quarterback, flipped the entire narrative on its head. He argued that Shedeur's move wasn't arrogance. It was the ultimate form of respect. It was respect for Lamar Jackson. It was respect for Jalen Hurts. Shedeur wasn't sitting around praying for another player to get injured just so he could get his shot. He wanted to earn his place, to win a competition on a level playing field. And deep down, he was smart enough to know exactly where he would never find one. The fan base went nuclear. Social media became a civil war. Half the crowd was cheering Shedeur's snubs, praising him as a visionary, a trailblazer for player empowerment. The other half was furious, screaming that he had thrown away his career before it even started, that his ego had written a check his arm couldn't cash. And all the while, up in their marble towers, the NFL owners were fuming, asking themselves the one question that terrified them to their core. Since when did the peasants get to choose their castles? Because let's be perfectly clear, this was never about just one rookie quarterback. This was about power, and billionaires do not like it when the power shifts unless it's their stock portfolios climbing ever higher. And you cannot tell this story without talking about the larger-than-life shadow looming over all of it, Deion Primetime Sanders. Shedeur wasn't raised by just any dad. He was mentored by a Hall of Famer who broke molds, shattered conventions, and built an empire by refusing to play by anyone else's rules. While the league thought draft night was a simple selection show, Shedeur, armed with the Primetime playbook, flipped it into a high-stakes negotiation table. He was taught that his value is not determined by the lowest bidder, but by his own self-worth. That philosophy is kryptonite to the NFL's business model. And that's where the Cleveland Browns entered the picture. Not as the safe choice, not as the prestigious choice, but as the calculated, high-risk, high-reward gamble that made perfect sense. Yes, Cleveland is a franchise historically built on heartbreak and chaos. It's been called a quarterback graveyard, a place where first-round hopes go to die. But here's the key that Shedeur's camp understood. In a land with no king, anyone can stake a claim to the throne. In Cleveland, there was a power vacuum. There was no Lamar Jackson, no Jalen Hurts, no living legend whose shadow would blot out the sun. In Cleveland, the competition wasn't icons. It was a revolving door of guys that fans often forget about from week to week. For Shedeur, that wasn't a red flag. It was a wide open door. It was the only place that offered a real, legitimate shot at becoming quarterback one in year one. The Shedeur Blueprint, a new era of player control. This moment is bigger than one draft pick. It's bigger than Cam Newton's podcast. It's bigger than one sound bite. This is the beginning of a new era. An era where players are flipping the table. They don't just sit there and smile for the cameras. They call the shots. They reject billion-dollar organizations like bad Tinder dates and bet on themselves so hard that it makes the owners sweat bullets. And just like that, Shedeur Sanders became the unwilling poster boy for a rebellion the NFL never saw coming. Let's bring in the traditionalists, championed by the perspective of a guy like Alex Smith. After the news broke, Smith, a respected veteran, voiced the opinion held by the old guard. Shedeur blew it. The argument is predictable because it's been drilled into players for generations. You should be grateful for any opportunity. A first-class organization like Baltimore is the best place to learn, to develop, to understand what it takes to be a pro. You put your head down, you work hard, and you wait your turn. It's an easy position to take, especially for a player like Smith, who spent half his career being treated like a rental car while his teams were constantly window shopping for younger, flashier models. Of course, he wants the new generation to follow the same tired, miserable script. Misery loves company after all. But Shedeur Sanders didn't come to the NFL to smile, nod, and be a good company man. He came to flip tables, tear up scripts, and write his own damn playbook. This is the new culture war in the NFL. It's the old school mentality of organizational loyalty versus the new school mindset of player empowerment. For decades, rookies were taught that the team was everything, but a new generation raised on personal branding, NIL deals, and the lessons of players like LeBron James sees it differently. Their career is a business, and they are the CEO. They're not just assets, they're entrepreneurs. And this entrepreneurial spirit is what terrifies the owners, because if rookies start demanding respect and control over their own careers, what's next? Imagine the bedlam if quarterbacks started acting like free agents before they even signed signed their rookie deals. That's every billionaire owner's worst nightmare because suddenly they're not the ones yanking the leash anymore. The entire structure of the draft, designed to prop up bad teams and maintain a competitive balance dictated by the league, begins to crumble. And Cam Newton, oh, he was loving every second of this. He didn't just drop the story, he lit the match, poured the gasoline, set the entire narrative ablaze, and then roasted marshmallows on the flames. He laughed at the idea of Shedeur being painted as arrogant. To Cam, this wasn't arrogance, it was straight chess, not checkers. And the panicked look on the NFL's collective face told the whole story. They weren't ready for a rookie quarterback who came with a built-in GPS tuned to survival, not blind loyalty. This is a cultural shift ripping through the NFL like a blitz that no one called. Owners, coaches, and analysts can scream arrogance all they want, but deep down, they know the truth. The leash just snapped. For decades, rookies were taught to smile, shake hands, and pray for a chance. Shedeur said, "Nah, I'll choose my own destiny." And in doing so, he just cracked the mold wide open. The domino effect, fear in the boardroom. Think about it. Every time a college star watches this story unfold, they're taking notes. Every kid throwing spirals in their backyard is gonna grow up knowing there's another way, a louder way, a bolder way to play the draft game. And the owners, they're shaking in their boots because what happens when the cattle stop moving in a straight line? The whole farm goes up in chaos. Cam Newton set it off. Shedeur Sanders doubled down. And now the spotlight is burning hotter than ever. Cleveland is rolling the dice. The fans are divided like rival gangs on Twitter. And the NFL machine is stuttering, trying desperately to figure out how to spin this before the floodgates burst wide open. Now picture this. Shedeur walks into training camp in Cleveland. Every camera is locked on him. Every microphone is in his face. Every teammate is looking at him, wondering if this is the kid who finally breaks the curse or just another arrogant rookie who will be chewed up and spit out by the Browns' chaotic machinery. He doesn't need to be perfect, he just needs to be bold enough to survive. One laser pass in a preseason game, one clutch drive in a scrimmage, and suddenly the headlines change from the entitled rookie to the savior Cleveland didn't deserve. This is no longer just a draft story, it's a revolution brewing right under the NFL's nose. The real question now is how this story will age 10 years from now. Will Shedeur Sanders be remembered as the visionary quarterback who refused to play sidekick and forced the NFL to change its ways? Or will he go down as the tragic cautionary tale, the kid who thought he was too big for his own cleats and gambled his career away? Either way, he has already carved his name into the history books. He rejected billion-dollar franchises like they were items off the dollar menu, and he made NFL owners sweat in places they didn't even know they could sweat. That's not just bold, that's revolutionary. And revolutionary figures, whether they rise to glory or crash and burn, always leave the league forever changed. The old guard will try to minimize this. They will spend the entire season talking about his accuracy, his footwork, his coachability. They will do everything in their power to make this about football mechanics and not about the transfer of power that has just occurred. They want to contain the idea. They want to tell the next generation of college superstars that this was an anomaly, a one-off stroke of luck and hubris that should never be repeated. But the genie is out of the bottle, and it has a primetime pedigree. Consider the implications for the future #1 overall picks. If a player can orchestrate their draft destiny, bypassing better established but quarterback-saturated franchises for a situation where they can play immediately, every single college agent in the country is now taking notes. They're not just evaluating scheme fits, they're evaluating the quarterback depth chart, the years remaining on contracts, and the likelihood of a rookie being able to steal the job in year 1. This makes the draft a negotiation, not a decree. It flips the entire calculus. Before this, the accepted wisdom was that a rookie QB should go to the best, most stable organization, even if it meant sitting for 3 or 4 years. That stability was seen as the greatest asset. Shedeur Sanders is challenging that wisdom by arguing that opportunity and immediate playing time are the greatest assets. He is betting that the talent and visibility of starting now, even in chaos, outweighs the comfort and obscurity of sitting in a stable system. This is a brutal, cold-blooded business decision. The owners hate it because it introduces a layer of player agency they have spent decades eliminating. They want an assembly line of compliant, grateful athletes. Shedeur, with the help of Cam Newton's narrative explosion, has announced that the assembly line is now a bespoke shop, and the athlete is the client, not the product. The anger in the boardroom isn't just about this one player. It's about the precedent this sets for every future negotiation. The third team that was reportedly rejected, a fact that has been harder to confirm and a secret that is still bubbling under the surface, was a team in the NFC West, a team that thought they could secure Shedeur in the middle of the first round. This team, a known contender with an aging veteran quarterback, planned to use Shedeur as the ultimate succession plan. The rejection from this team was perhaps the most pointed because it was delivered with the cold logic of an advanced scout. Your veteran isn't retiring soon enough. Your timeline doesn't match mine. I'm not here to be the guy that replaces the legend. I'm here to be the legend. The name of this third team is the true nuclear secret the owners are trying to contain, because it would fully expose just how widespread Shedeur's audacious rejections were. Cam Newton's choice to reveal this on a national platform wasn't an accident. It was a calculated move by a player who himself defied the norms of the quarterback position. Cam understands the revolutionary nature of Shedeur's decision because he has lived through the media scrutiny of being a non-traditional leader. Cam's delivery, smooth and confident, legitimized the action. It gave Shedeur's move the stamp of approval from a former MVP who knows what it means to stand alone. The league's old guard can't just dismiss it as the ramblings of a random pundit. They have to deal with the messenger, an icon of the modern era. So what's your take on the biggest power play in modern draft history? Was Shedeur a genius for betting on himself, or did he make a catastrophic mistake by turning down two of the best organizations in football? Let me know your prediction down in the comments. This story is just getting started, and the fallout is going to be epic. The scrutiny on Cleveland this year won't just be about winning or losing. It will be about whether Shedeur's belief in himself was justified. If he flames out, the owners will point to it as a cautionary tale. See, this is what happens when you don't follow the process. But if he succeeds, if he leads the Browns to relevance, then the entire structure of the draft is fundamentally broken, and the players will finally have a blueprint for true, unadulterated empowerment. The tension in Cleveland, the high-stakes gamble, the public drama, it's not just football, it's a living, breathing business thriller. The ultimate irony is that by rejecting stability, Shedeur has created the most unstable, yet most compelling narrative in the entire NFL. He has forced the narrative to revolve around him, exactly what he needed to do to cement his brand and his future. The owners are fuming, the media is buzzing, and a revolution is brewing in Cleveland, Ohio. You're not going to want to miss what comes next. The depth of the owner's fury stems from the fact that Shedeur's rejection strikes at the very heart of the competitive balance illusion. The draft is designed to help the bad teams get better by giving them access to the best talent. When a top-tier prospect dictates terms and bypasses good, stable teams to choose a team with a clear path to the starting job, it proves that the players now see through the veneer. They are prioritizing their personal career trajectory over the league's mandated organizational structure. This makes the draft a weak tool for team building, not a strong one, and that is a threat to the bottom line of every single owner. They want the illusion of choice, but the reality of control. Shedeur chose control over the illusion. Every single word spoken by the league's establishment voices in the coming weeks will be an attempt to re-establish that control. They will praise the sanctity of the process. They will talk about the value of mentorship and patience. But their words will ring hollow because Shedeur's actions have already spoken volumes. He has shown the way, and a generation of hungry social media savvy athletes is watching and learning. This is the new power struggle, and it is happening right in front of our eyes. The final element of the secret Cam Newton revealed, the part that is really making the league's security staff lose sleep, is the alleged involvement of a major sports marketing agency that advised Shedeur's camp to make these explicit rejections publicly known, or at least strategically leaked. This wasn't just a private family decision. This was a coordinated professional business strategy designed to maximize his marketability and put him on the most visible platform possible. If this is true, it means that the player empowerment movement is not just organic. It is being professionally managed and weaponized against the league structures. The owners are now fighting not just a defiant player, but a highly sophisticated PR and business operation. That is the kind of adversary they truly fear. The player, the father, the agency, and the media mouthpiece in Cam Newton. This is a four-pronged attack on the status quo. You absolutely have to keep watching this story.